Imagine this, right now, pushing its way through the cracks in your sidewalk or driveway, there's a low-growing plant with reddish stems that packs more omega-3 fatty acids than salmon, per leaf, not per pound. Humans have relied on it for over 4,000 years. It outlasted empires, fed entire civilizations, and just a few years ago, scientists at Yale discovered it can do something no other plant on the planet can achieve, something they described as biologically impossible. Yet today, the herbicide industry pours billions of dollars every year into making sure you pull it, spray it, and never learn its name. This isn't some rare exotic species. It's purslane, the everyday weed we've all been taught to hate. And once you hear its full story, you'll never look at your driveway the same way again.
Picture this. Back in 1050 BC, someone in northern Greece carefully tucked away a stash of tiny black seeds in a simple clay pot, burying it for safekeeping. Fast forward 3,000 years, and archaeologists crack it open to find those same seeds, each no bigger than a millimeter, still perfectly preserved, identical to the resilient plants sprouting right outside between the ancient stones. By the 7th century BC, these seeds show up in the Samian Herion, one of the holiest sites in ancient Greece, where they weren't just offerings but symbols of abundance. Then, in the 4th century BC, Theophrastus, the father of botany himself, gets specific in his writings, advising farmers to sow them in April, right alongside their staple crops like barley and wheat. This wasn't some pesky invader sneaking in, it was deliberate agriculture, a cornerstone of their diets. Fast forward to the Roman Empire, and they're scaling it up across 3 continents, Europe, Africa, Asia, turning it into a reliable harvest that fed legions and civilians alike. Even in medieval Europe, it was a mealtime regular, showing up in everything from peasant stews to noble feasts. Take 1288 AD, when Bonvicin de la Riva cataloged every single food flowing through the bustling markets of Milan. This plant didn't make the cut as some oddity or luxury. It was listed plain and simple as an everyday essential, right there with bread and cheese. All this time, purslane, Portulaca oleracea, wasn't just surviving, it was thriving as the unsung hero of human sustenance, solving hunger in ways we'd only dream of rediscovering today.
After Columbus crossed the Atlantic in 1492, Europeans thought they were introducing purslane to the New World. But when settlers in Massachusetts first wrote about it in 1672, archaeologists later uncovered evidence that it had already been here for thousands of years. Ancient seeds pulled from sites in Ontario date back to around 1350 AD, while others in Kentucky go all the way to 800 BC. Long before any European ship arrived, Native American tribes were deliberately growing purslane right alongside their core crops, sunflowers, squash, and chinapapots, in what's known as the Eastern Agricultural Complex. 2 completely separate civilizations, divided by an entire ocean, both looked at this same humble plant and decided it was absolutely essential to their survival. They weren't just tolerating it, they were cultivating it, valuing it, and passing the knowledge down through generations. So the real question is, what did they understand about purslane that we've somehow forgotten? In 1960, a researcher named Ansel Keys kicked off one of the most influential health studies ever conducted, the 7-country study. He followed over 12,000 men across 7 nations for decades, trying to figure out why heart disease crushed some populations while barely touching others. The results turned everything experts believed upside down. On the island of Crete, farmers were eating some of the highest fat diets in the entire study. Over 35% of their calories came from fat. By every rule in the textbooks at the time, they should have been dropping from heart attacks left and right. Instead, they recorded the lowest rates of cardiovascular death Keys had ever seen, lower than Japan, lower than anywhere else in the data. For years, scientists pointed to olive oil as the magic bullet, praising its monounsaturated fats and the whole Mediterranean lifestyle. But in the 1980s, a new team went back to those frozen blood samples from the original participants. This time, they weren't checking cholesterol levels. They were measuring omega-3 fatty acids. What they found was staggering. The Cretans had triple the omega-3 levels of groups like the Dutch, even though they weren't eating anywhere near triple the amount of fish. So where was it coming from? Every single day, these families were eating purslane, raw in salads, tossed into stews, sautéed with a little olive oil.
They even fed it to their chickens and goats, so the omega-3s flowed through their entire food chain. A simple wild plant growing in every field was quietly protecting an entire population from the heart disease epidemic sweeping the modern world.
In 1992, Dr. Artemis Simopoulos decided to run the numbers on Purslane, and what she found looked almost too good to be true. Fresh leaves contain 300 to 400 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid, the plant-based omega-3, per 100 grams. That's 5 to 7 times more than spinach and 15 times more than typical lettuce. It's hands down the richest land-based source of omega-3 ever recorded. But the surprises didn't stop there. Normally, the long-chain omega-3 called EPA, the one you usually only get from fish or algae, doesn't show up in land plants at all. Yet Purslane produces it in small but measurable amounts. When the results came out, other researchers thought the samples must have been contaminated. They weren't. On top of that, Purslane delivers 7 times more vitamin E than spinach, 6 times more beta-carotene than carrots, plus high levels of melatonin, glutathione, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Gram for gram, it ranks as one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. The proof showed up in real lives during the Lyon Diet Heart Study. Researchers took over 600 people who had already survived one heart attack and split them into 2 groups. One followed the standard low-fat advice given at the time. The other ate a Mediterranean-style diet loaded with purslane, walnuts, and extra omega-3s. After just 5 years, the purslane-rich group had 70% fewer deaths, not just from heart disease, but from all causes combined. The results were so dramatic that the researchers stopped the trial early. It wasn't ethical to keep the control group on the old diet any longer. One simple plant, eaten regularly, had shifted the odds that powerfully.
So why do we treat Purslane like public enemy number 1 when it might just be the toughest, most efficient food plant on Earth? In 2022, a team led by Dr. Erica Edwards at Yale published a groundbreaking study in Science Advances that completely rewrote the rules of photosynthesis. They'd been studying Purslane because it was pulling off something no one thought possible. It thrives in brutal drought while still growing faster than almost anything else. Most plants use one of 3 main systems to turn sunlight into energy. Regular crops like wheat use C3. It's efficient with water but slows down in heat. Corn and sugarcane evolve C4 for hotter climates, but they still guzzle water. Cacti and succulents use CAM. They collect CO2 at night to save water, but that makes them grow painfully slow. Scientists knew Purslane could switch between C4 and CAM, but they assumed it kept the 2 systems separated in different parts of the leaf. The Yale team mapped every gene in every cell and discovered something wild. Both systems run in the exact same cells at the same time. During the day, it fires up C4 for rapid growth. At night, it shifts to CAM to conserve water, and the leftovers from the night process feed straight into the daytime engine. Edwards called it a very rare combination that's created a kind of superplant, one that no other species on Earth has mastered. It's like finding an engine that seamlessly burns gas and electricity in the same chamber without ever switching modes. The result? Purslane needs just 1/5 the water of corn, laughs at soil so salty it would kill most crops, pumps out up to 200,000 seeds per plant that stay viable for 40 years, and roots from every broken stem fragment. You can't scorch it, starve it, or drown it out. One study on solarizing soil, covering it with plastic to superheat it, basically said if Purslane dies from this, everything that could possibly go right just did. This unstoppable resilience is exactly why the herbicide giants declared total war on it.
This indestructible superplant isn't just hard to kill, it's impossible to monetize. And that's why the chemical giants have spent decades waging all-out war against it. The global herbicide market topped $40 billion in 2024, and companies like Bayer, Syngenta, and Corteva sell specialized formulas designed specifically to wipe out purslane in lawns, gardens, and farmland. Chemicals like mesotrione, isoxaflutol, indaziflam, and even 2,4-D, the same compound developed as a weapon during World War II that was later repackaged for suburban lawns, are sprayed by the millions of gallons every year. Homeowners associations ban it from yards. University extension offices publish detailed how-to-eradicate guides. The entire modern landscaping and agricultural system treats purslane like a dangerous invader, not because it harms ecosystems, but because it refuses to be controlled.
You can't patent it. You can't engineer its seeds to die after one season, so farmers have to repurchase every year. It's been freely reproducing, spreading, and feeding people without permission for 4,000 years, and no corporation can put a stop to it. Every other major source of omega-3 is a tightly controlled profit machine. Wild fish stocks are collapsing, farmed salmon demands massive industrial setups, flax oil spoils quickly, and fish oil capsules run $20 a bottle or more. Meanwhile, Purslane grows for free in virtually every climate humans inhabit, delivering more omega-3 per acre than any commercial crop, asking nothing in return except a little sun and the occasional rain. The plant that could quietly revolutionize food security for millions is labeled the world's most common weed, not because it's worthless, but because it threatens billions in revenue.
Half the world never forgot about purslane. They're still eating it every day. In India, it's called kulfa and shows up in curries and salads. Greeks know it as glystrida, tossing it fresh with tomatoes and feta. Mexicans sauté it as verdolagas with garlic and chili for a tangy side dish. In China, it's been a cultivated vegetable for thousands of years under the name ma qi. Across Turkey, Iran, and the Middle East, it's a summer staple in cooling yogurt dips, mezesprets, and simple greens. These cultures kept the knowledge alive, passing down recipes that turn this free-growing plant into everyday meals. But in much of the Western world, we were taught to see it as an enemy and reach for the spray bottle instead. Now, as climate change tightens its grip, the places where staple crops like corn and wheat are projected to struggle first are exactly the hot, dry, marginal zones where purslane naturally dominates. Corn needs 20 to 30 inches of rain a year to thrive. Purslane can complete its entire life cycle on just 6. Soybeans shut down in temperatures over 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Purslane speeds up. When scientists run the models for future food security, they're pointing to the very conditions this plant was built for. The resilient, nutrient-packed solution we're going to need more than ever isn't locked away in some lab waiting to be invented. It's already spreading across the ground, waiting for us to stop fighting it and start harvesting it.
Here's the good news. You don't need to search far to start benefiting from this incredible plant. It's probably waiting for you right outside your door. Learn to spot purslane easily. Look for thick, reddish stems trailing low along the ground, paired with smooth, juicy, paddle-shaped leaves that cluster like little succulents. The stems are never hairy. Snap one and you'll see it's almost translucent and full of moisture inside. Tiny yellow flowers often hide tucked between the leaves. Once you know the look, you'll see it everywhere, in driveway cracks, garden edges, even abandoned lots. Stop reaching for the weed killer. Let it grow where it's not in the way. Harvest the young shoots in the first 6 weeks when the leaves are most tender. Eat them raw for a refreshing lemony crunch with a hint of salt, perfect tossed into salads. Sauté them like spinach, blend them into smoothies, add them to soups or stews, or even pickle them for later. Dry the leaves for winter storage if you want. And don't forget the seeds. One mature plant can produce hundreds of thousands. Let a few plants flower and go to seed in late summer, then collect them. They're tiny, black, and store forever. Scatter them in your garden beds, share them with friends, or plant them intentionally next spring. Every person who learns to recognize and use purslane takes one small step away from depending only on grocery store food, and one step closer to real, resilient nutrition that grows itself. The richest natural source of omega-3 isn't locked behind a supplement bottle or an industrial farm gate. It's free, tough as nails, and ready to feed us through whatever comes next. Start noticing it, start eating it, and pass the knowledge on. If this opened your eyes to something powerful today, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Like and comment below. What forgotten plants have you rediscovered? The next one is coming soon.